Hey, business building warrior, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. My name is Jim Cockrum. I'll be the host for today's episode. If you're new around here, let me just tell you that it's kind of unusual that it's just me on this podcast with nearly 800 episodes recorded. The vast majority of our episodes are interviews with the successful students from the Proven Amazon course, which is the longest running, most established Amazon seller training course in the industry. It's $39 a month and has absolutely everything you will ever need to jump into any of the dozens of Amazon selling opportunities, Amazon income opportunities. ProvenAmazonCourse.com has the details. And again, if you scroll back through our previous episodes, you're going to see hundreds, which is unique in the industry, hundreds of success story interviews. We're so proud of that. But today it's just you and I hanging out, talking about what's become a very popular topic in our group lately. I'll explain why that is in just a moment. Way back in episode 554 of our podcast, which if you want to see the numbered episodes, you can go to silentjimdotcom, click on podcast, and scroll down to 554. I introduced this topic. It's something that even for a couple of years before that, a strategy many of us were using and talking about frequently, but it's become very popular lately. We'll be talking about selling above the buy box on Amazon on very common everyday items. We'll talk through that in just a moment. But before we do, we've got something really cool. You may not have heard about this yet. We put a lot of work into this. A lot of you refer your friends and family and people you know into our group. For 20 years, that's been our only marketing is referrals from those of you who are just kind enough to spread the word because you love what you're learning around here. That's where our 75,000 people in our free Facebook group have come from. The vast majority of our nearly 10,000 coaching students have come from referrals. But we're getting a little more purposeful, intentional about giving you an incentive to tell others about us. That's right. We want to pay you to tell your friends and family and others about our free podcasts. We want to pay you to tell other people about our free Facebook group. We want to give you an incentive to share with others who we are, what we do, what we stand for. And if that person goes on to become a paying customer, well, we're going to pay you a cut of any money they give us. It's free to sign up. Just a couple minutes from now, you could have links to unique links that belong just to you that send people to our podcast or to our free Facebook group. And then if that person goes on to become a client, we're going to send you some cash. Get the details at silentjim.com/affiliate. silentjim.com/affiliate. We'd love to send you some PayPal funds every month just for sending us a few new listeners and people who hang out in our community. Go get those details there. Well, let's get back to the topic of selling above buy box. What does that mean? Let's break it down for a moment. And you may want to go back and listen to podcast episode 554, 554. Go back and listen to it because I go in depth about how Amazon isn't one central warehouse where customers all go to shop for the lowest prices all day, every day. No, Amazon instead is 150 plus warehouses spread out all over the United States that anyone around the world can send inventory to. And a lot of customers, millions of customers all day, every day, are jumping onto Amazon.com to find the fastest option to get what they need, which can only be retrieved from the warehouse nearest them, meaning you're not competing with all the sellers selling on any given ASIN or any given listing on Amazon. You're only competing for millions of shoppers. You're only competing with the inventory that's sitting in the warehouse nearest the customer who's currently shopping online on Amazon. Some people are willing to wait 4 days, 8 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks for the cheapest price. That's great. Millions of people shop that way all day, every day. There's also millions of people who shop very differently. They want the fastest option, which means they're only shopping one warehouse, the warehouse near them. So that's the only inventory they see. What opportunity does that give us as sellers? That means that we can be pricing our products aggressively high if it's a fast moving product. And we can do very well on Amazon. So this above the buy box training that we're talking about today, how does it work? We've got so many questions about it. I'm going to give you some resources, a couple free ways that you can go see 100 examples of the Keepa charts. You know, those charts with all the lines and colors. If you haven't learned how to read Keepa yet, or maybe you don't know what Keepa is, go listen to podcast episode 369 369. There's my thumb. There it is. 369. That's the episode where I talk about Keepa. That's an old episode, but I could record it today. It's just as relevant today. Keepa scrapes data from Amazon in a way that no other tool does. Before you buy any tools that tell you how many times per month a product sells, or is this a good product for you to buy or not, before you buy any tools like that, you really, really, really owe it to yourself to go listen to podcast episode 369. Go to silentjimdotcom, click on podcast, give it a listen. It's going to help you out. So we look at those Keepa charts, and I show you 100 examples of Keepa data charts where my inventory that we've purchased for my Amazon selling account has sold today on the day that we share the chart. We got a list of 100 of them in our Facebook group. And I show you what price point we sold it for, and I show you the buy box line well below that line. So there's a price point where we sold it. Let's say that's $40. And then there's the buy box line, which is bouncing around $27 to $30. So here I am making sales $10 above typical buy box. And if this was just one or two or three or even 10 different ASINs that we'd found over the past 6 months where this was true, there'd be no reason to be impressed, obviously. I've identified 100 ASINs just by randomly hopping into my Amazon seller account and looking for examples. And I've found 100 of them in the past couple of months of products where if we're not the highest priced seller, we're pretty stinking close to being the highest priced seller, alongside, in some cases, 40 or 50 other sellers. So let me give you an example. Imagine a product that you're selling on Amazon where there's only 3 or 4 sellers priced higher than you, and there's 50 sellers priced lower than you. Would you expect to make any sales on that ASIN, knowing just that information? 50 sellers cheaper than you, 2 or 3 priced higher than you. Would you expect to make any sales at all on that ASIN? If you're a rational thinker, given only that information, the obvious answer is no. I would not expect customers to go, I think I'd like to pay $15 more than I have to for that item. Doesn't make any sense, does it? But it happens all day, every day. Why is that? Because what I mentioned earlier, customers, millions of them right now, are shopping on Amazon, not looking for the best price. They're looking for the fastest delivery. So let's talk through our scenario one more time. 50 plus sellers, only 3 or 4 priced higher than me. But my unit happens to randomly have been placed in a warehouse near a very busy mom who needs that item. She needs it now. She doesn't have 5 hours to hit the 3 Walmarts and Kroger's and Target stores in her area. She doesn't have that kind of time. She needs it now. She jumps on and sorts the prices not from high to low. She sorts the delivery dates from fastest to slowest. And she grabs the one that's the fastest. Which one is it? The one sitting in a warehouse near here that can be here within a couple hours or faster. Prime Now is crazy fast in a lot of major cities in the United States. So some smart seller who understands this and sent in a few units at a time of really fast moving products priced well above buy box, well, they're getting sales all day, every day at really nice margins, while most sellers are looking at the buy box and the typical pricing on Amazon in the buy box and saying, I got to be near that if I want to make any sales, right? Sometimes it holds true that you need to be near the buy box if it's a slower moving product. But quite often, as we've been testing and as we've demonstrated now with 100 examples, I'll tell you how to go see those 100 examples in just a moment. I'll stick a link in the show notes too, completely free. Go see all those examples. Quite often, you'll see people not sorting prices from low to high, sorting delivery dates from fastest to slowest. And they'll be willing to pay a lot more if you can get it to them fast from a warehouse near them. Some people have the confusion that think we're somehow strategically placing our inventory intentionally in warehouses where it's destined to sell more quickly to a busy customer who wants to get it fast. We have no control over that. We don't do that. What we do, my team, is we're sending in a handful of units. When I say a handful, I'm talking like less than 5 on these fast moving ASINs, fast moving being 30 to 40 drops or more per month on Keepa. And if the buy box represents, and this is an important indicator, if the buy box represents approximate break even for us, meaning if we have to drop our price and get rid of this inventory, we can be relatively confident that dropping down to the typical recent buy box price is going to help us escape this ASIN without any losses. If all those conditions are true, we're going to send in a few units and test at a nice high price that we like, that puts money in the bank for us, serving a customer who is busy and grateful for the speed of delivery on that particular product. This is a very simple business model. It's so simple, in fact, that the people who struggle with it the most are the experienced sellers. Isn't that funny? The people who've been selling a long time, when they first hear this, like, well, there's got to be something wrong with this, because I'm not seeing any of these sales show up on Keepa, and you're not even winning the buy box. So how could you be winning any sales? Because you've got to win the buy box at least sometimes to win sales. And why would someone pay that much more? And they have 1,000 questions. Whereas someone who's new to this says, makes total sense. 150 plus warehouses. Some people are busy. They sort fastest delivery and they don't care what the price is and they snag it. I'll try it. Right? It's a longer, more complicated discussion for people who've been doing Amazon a long time. Rightfully so. They think they know where all the lines exist in the sand when it comes to selling on Amazon. And what we're doing basically with this concept is we're expanding the lines in the sand. There's some new territory, actually millions of ASINs that you should have been considering all along that you've been ignoring because you look at the buy box and you say to yourself, well, the typical buy box is $20 to $23 on this item, and I can only make money if I sell it for 30. So I guess I can't sell on this ASIN, and you move along and you go look for other ASINs. Whereas I would look at that ASIN and say, okay, typical buy box, $20 to $23. My break even price point is $24, or maybe it's 19, somewhere in that window, somewhere near the buy box line. I'm going to go in and try to sell it for $32 and see what happens. Just test it. Why not? Worst case scenario is drop my price back down to buy box, get my cash back. Such a simple concept. If you get into our Facebook group, you're going to see you have to be in there. It's free. Go to silentjimdotcom and look for the Facebook link to our group. There's 75,000 people in there as we're recording this. I've personally posted 100 examples from sales that happen in real time. I'm posting them the day they happen. I'm putting a date stamp on it, showing you the Keepa chart, showing you our price point, where we sold it, showing you where the buy box line is. A lot of times I'll show you where our break even price point is too in relative position to that buy box line. Posted 100 examples. I'll tell you how many times it drops on Keepa, how many other sellers there are. And there's so many great examples now that this is really going to sink in. There's also a new module inside the Proven Amazon course. If you're a Proven Amazon course student, it only costs you $39 a month to get all the content and training. We've just completely revamped the new seller training, by the way, inside the Proven Amazon course. So the first several hours of content you're exposed to as a new seller student in our community is just brand new as of February, March 2024. So proud of that. So jump in and experience that. But there's also a module called Above Buy Box Training. And we're going to talk you through these examples. And I show the charts and I show you what we were looking for and what you should be looking for. So it really drills this point home. Now, here's what I'm not saying today, because I know someone is going to take what I said today and assume I've said a lot of things I didn't say. I didn't say this today. I didn't say that this is the only way to find replens. Didn't say that this is the best way to find replens. I didn't say that this is the only way to make money on Amazon. I didn't say that this is the only way that I make money online. I didn't say those things. What I did say is this is a great way to find test-worthy ASINs on Amazon. And if you're not using this strategy, you are leaving millions of potentially profitable listings out of your arsenal, knowing the worst case is the vast majority of the time, a break even. That's your worst case negative experience, is you break even. So let me just summarize again one last time before I let you go. I know you can rewind, but let me just state it slightly differently. What is this selling above the buy box strategy? state it as succinctly and clearly in step-by-step format as I possibly can off the top of my head. It's this. Step one is you got to realize Amazon is not a central warehouse where all customers gather to seek out the lowest possible price. It's just not. The United States is big. There's 150 plus warehouses spread out all over the place. The way millions of shoppers use Amazon all day, every day is to seek out the fastest possible delivery time without a care in the world about what the price is. A lot of people kind of combine the two. Am I willing to pay a little more to get it a little faster? I don't know. You've got to realize there's a lot of people out there shopping that price is just a tiny factor in their decision, if it's a factor at all. Once that makes sense to you, which some people have a hard time getting there because they're very frugal. I'll gladly wait 3 weeks to save $2. There's people like that. Okay, great. Not everyone's like you. Millions of people aren't like that. So once you understand that, and you start to understand that there's a lot of fast moving products that are selling hundreds or thousands of times per month on Amazon, and Amazon can't possibly keep them all in stock. Not even 40 or 50 sellers can keep all these 150 warehouses stocked up where they need to be. Then you start to realize, okay, on these fast moving products, it's a pretty tiny risk I have to take to send in a couple test units, price them high enough above my break even point, assuming that break even point is in proximity with the typical buy box, and see what happens. More often than not, you're going to make a handful of sales minimum per month on some really great ASINs at some really great margins. But until you've tested it, you'll never experience it because these data points do not show up on any tools out there. There's no tool available to us that shows us sales that are occurring on Amazon. They show us the current buy box, and a lot of people assume that that's where the sales are happening. And yeah, that's probably true that most sales are happening at around buy box level. But I would estimate anywhere from 20% or so, maybe even more of sales are happening well above anything reflected in the buy box data that you're going to see because a lot of people are in a hurry and they don't want to wait 5 days to save $4. They'll pay $10 more to get it right now. Once you understand that, you can start taking advantage of this. So here's the link. I promised I'd give you a link. This will be in the show notes as well. Go to silentjim.com/BB70. I had to think about that for a second. BB is in buy box. silentjim.com/BB70, the 2 digits, 7 and a 0. That is a direct link right into our Facebook group. Once you're a member, it'll take you right to the post where I've got 100 examples of this. And by the time you hear this, maybe I'll have more examples than that. We really went hard on giving a lot of examples in the past couple of months on this strategy. It has nothing to do with the fact that I've been selling a long time. It has to do with a lot of sellers are busy. They don't care who's selling the item. You do realize most shoppers on Amazon have no idea that the stuff they're buying is from third-party sellers. You probably didn't know that yourself until you started selling. So some people say, well, Jim, this works for you because you've been selling a while. No, when people sort by the date to see the fastest delivery time, they pick the person that can get it. They pick the item that can get there the fastest. They know all these items are identical. They know that Amazon's ultimately responsible for getting that to their front porch. They could care less that you've only been selling for 3 weeks or 3 months or 2 years, and I've been selling for longer. They could care less. Maybe 1 out of 1,000 customers care that I've been selling longer than you, but the vast majority of them could care less. All they know is they see a date and a time that represents getting it to them fast, and they pick that. If that's you, you just want a high margin sale. Start playing above the buy box. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Hey, if you want to hear hundreds of interviews with successful students who are following this strategy, as well as dozens and dozens of other incredible strategies that we teach around here, you're going to love listening to more episodes of our podcast. If you're a new listener, we strongly encourage, don't start with episode 1. Go back and enjoy some of those older episodes. That's great. We started doing this in 2016. We have almost 800 episodes. There's some great stuff in those old episodes. But make sure you're staying current. Listen to the most recent episodes because often there's very relevant new updates for you that you need to be a part of. You need to pay attention to in real time. So last thing before I let you go, I actually interviewed recently someone who started off in our community a long time ago. He's built a beautiful business. He was actually at one point the biggest seller on eBay. That's pretty crazy. That's a guy worth listening to, right? He started a service for Amazon sellers and it's blowing up. He's helping to receive all the returns from Amazon sellers. So if you've got any inventory that comes back to you from Amazon, maybe it's some product that you bought too much of, and now you're worried about starting to have to pay some long-term storage fees, so you're bringing it back. Or maybe it's something that Amazon says, "Hey, you can no longer sell this ASIN for whatever reason. We're shutting this ASIN down. Here comes your stuff." Or a customer doesn't like the product and they send it back. Whatever. All that stuff comes back to you as an Amazon seller. How about if instead of using your front porch as the address, you used someone else that can liquidate that stuff for the top dollar and give you a cut? That's what his service is. Brandon Dupsky, you can go check it out. He's going to be a great sponsor at our conference this year, by the way. He'll be there in Orlando with us May 23rd through 25th, the Proven Conference. But you want to get over to silentjim.com/backtrack, all one word, silentjim.com/backtrack to check out Brandon's service. I'm going to get him on the line now as we wrap up this episode. He's going to tell you a little bit about his service, what they do, how they can help you, even if you're small. This is a great way to get rid of excess inventory through someone who's very confident, very creative, and making sure you get the most money possible out of those returns. And you can just build a beautiful system where you don't have to touch that stuff that otherwise would come back and change into a basement pile, as one of our coaches call it. We talk about it today. No, you don't want that basement pile. Let's turn that into cash in real time. So enjoy this conversation with Brandon. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us on today's episode. But before I let you go, I want to tell you about a new sponsor and a great partnership that we've developed recently with a company called Backtrack. You can go to silentjim.com/backtrack to hear all about them. And I'm going to talk to their founder right now. It's a guy who's been in e-commerce longer than I have, believe it or not. That's crazy, right? There's not many of them out there. 26 years. He's going to share with us here in just a moment. His name's Brandon. His service receives all of the inventory that you don't know what to do with, like your returns from Amazon. If you bought too much of an item, if you've had to pull it off of Amazon shelves for some reason, instead of having it come back to your house, to your warehouse, to your front porch, have it go to someone that can turn it into as much cash as possible and send you a check. It's a great solution to a growing problem. There's a handful of solution providers out there doing this, but this is someone who's been doing it longer and bigger than anyone. So as you're looking for a solution, be sure to consider them. And you're going to enjoy this conversation with someone. We spent the first couple minutes here with Brandon in just a moment talking about his experience in e-commerce. It's pretty mind-blowing what he's been through and seen. But now this business, he says he's trying to solve the biggest problem in e-commerce. That's his goal. That's his mission. And they're well on the way with 800 clients around the world. They want to grow to 2,000 clients in 2024. They're not making money unless you are. It's a beautiful solution. You can sign up and check them out at silentjim.com/backtrack. It doesn't cost you anything to sign up. You can start sending your returns to them and they'll start sending you some cash. Beautiful solution. Let's meet Brandon here and have a conversation with him. Get him on the line right now. But Brandon, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. Good to see you, man.
Hey, Jim. Nice to see you.
Well, let's reminisce for just a moment. I mean, we're not going to dive too deep in the story, but you've been around e-commerce for a long time. You know, I don't have many guys I run with that can talk in terms of decades of e-commerce experience, and you're one of them. So fill us in a little bit, man.
Yeah, so I'll try to give you the very fast version. I love e-commerce. E-commerce is my passion. I've been in it for 26 years. So when eBay had less than 1 million sellers, I was one of those. Done the whole thing, build a eBay business. It was in the beginning, it was go big or go home. So I went big. In the first 6 to 8 years, I built the largest company on eBay. My company was called Sell to All. That was fun. It was a roller coaster ride and lots of stories in there. It went out of business. And this is one of my painful stories. A lot of e-commerce sellers, they grow fast and they run into brick walls. I ran into brick walls. I went out of business in 2006. So that was my first e-commerce business, went big. Then my second e-commerce business, I started over from the ground zero, actually from negative zero, and built a one-man, $1 million a year. I worked 1 hour a day, and I did it in 1 year after that first business. And that was more of a lifestyle business. And that was a business where I went to China. I built my own private label brands. I would then sell it on Shopify, eBay, Amazon, and so forth. And that was a very comfortable lifestyle business. I did that for 14 years and got to take my family on all kinds of vacations and didn't have to work too hard. And so now I'm in my third business. That business did its course. It was, DVD players. So DVD is a medium that's kind of going out, it's extinct almost now. And so that business model was kind of expiring. So I dialed that down. And over the last 5.5 years now, I've focused on saving e-commerce. That's what I call it. I'm on a mission. This is like a mission for me. I'm solving the biggest problem in e-commerce. It's an $800 billion problem. It's about a $215 billion a year problem for the third-party sellers on e-commerce in the US. And it's a problem that are putting companies out of business. And so I'm saving e-commerce by helping companies solve the biggest problem, which is customer returns and liquidations. And so my company has over 800 Amazon and Walmart third-party sellers who use us as their return center. And basically, if you look at it, e-commerce is a very slim margin business. It's good for cash flow. It's a slim margin business. You got to reinvest, profits into new products and advertising and all that stuff. And returns is actually bigger than most e-commerce companies make on the bottom line. Returns is 14 to 15%, average wise. And so if we can help e-commerce sellers recover at least a portion of that 14 to 16%, we can keep them in business. And so that's kind of how I see it, is we're helping businesses stay in business.
Beautifully said, man. Nice recap of your incredible story as well. Like I said, it's very few guys that I talked to 20 plus years. And I learned some of your story that I didn't realize. That's really cool. I'm talking with Brandon of Backtrack, and you can go to silentjimdotcom/backtrack, all one word, to see what they have for our audience. But who is it that you would like to work with? Like, who you mentioned 800 clients right now. Are some of our listeners maybe too small, or are they into a niche that you're not interested in? Like, who's your sweet spot of who you can really help?
So I'm passionate about helping entrepreneurs. So I've tried not to have any barriers in that sense. So we designed our business so that the person who's just starting off can actually sign up with us. And we get probably 80 to 90% of our business as referrals from existing sellers telling new sellers, go see Brandon. He can help you with your returns. And we've kind of automated the onboarding process so that small sellers just starting off can actually get into our system. And we don't push them away. I know larger companies out there say, oh, you got to do $1 million a year or 2,000 packages a month. We don't have any limits. We've built the system. You can be a startup and use us. But at the same time, we've got companies who do 500 million a year using us. So we've got companies all the way from beginning, all the way to 500 million a year using Backtrack for their services.
So do you have one central location, or are you guys just a little spread out at this point?
So we do have one location. We're in Lincoln, Nebraska, and we've got 2 facilities that work in Lincoln, Nebraska, because we ran out of space at some times. And so we've got a second warehouse who does overflow for us or certain types of projects. And so Lincoln, Nebraska is great for returns because it's centralized. We're in the middle of the country. So California and Florida only have to ship halfways across the country to get to us. And so we're kind of in the great position for returns because Amazon ships to us from Omaha, from Chicago, and from Texas very quickly. But we're not very good for forward logistics because we're in Nebraska. That's where the containers come in. They usually come in on a port somewhere.
Yes, right. That makes total sense. I love it. Well, what else should listeners know about what you guys do? How complicated is it to set this up? Am I going to be paying you to do this for me? Talk me through the numbers.
Yeah, so Backtrack is meant to help with returns and liquidations. Usually sellers have problems with both at any time. Everybody has returns. So it's very simple. We automated it. You sign into our system. We plug into your Amazon account. We then can see the returns coming in. We also have the ability to plug into eBay a little bit. We can see the returns coming in. I have a team of people who open it up, inspect it, grade it, photograph it, inventory it. So it could be an A item, B item, or C item. And then at that point, recovery is really our sweet spot. So a lot of sellers don't want to have to, oh, here I've got my item, but what do you want me to do with it? So warehouses like to just get you to that point. We take it to the finish line. We actually resell the item for you on your behalf on other marketplaces as an opened box item. And so the recovery is really the sweet spot that people love because at the end of the month, I want to send you money. I want to give the sellers back more money than they cost than the system cost them. Now, there's no for the Silent Gym team, I'm offering no sign up fees, no monthly subscription fees depending on the service level. We have subscription fees. We have a zero cost entry level fee, program, but we also have higher level programs if you want us to do deep inspections or plug in electronics. There's usually a monthly fee. We're gonna waive that fee for Silent Gym members on the special offer. But at the end of the month, we don't charge any storage fees unless we're holding it for you. If you want us to hold it so that it can go back to a vendor, or you want to resell it, or you want to send it back to Amazon, only those types of situations we charge storage. Otherwise, there's no storage fees. So basically, I send on the 10th of each month, I run a report, all of our sales, we split it up across 800 companies, and I send out payments to these companies for the sales that we've done on their behalf, recovering from their returns and liquidations.
That's fantastic. I love it. It sounds like during the setup process too, you'd be able to answer any questions. Do you have what kind of support do you offer? Is it primarily email, online, or talk me through that. If someone has questions, what's the best way for them to work through some of this? I know they can go to silentjimdotcom/backtrack, right? That's the special offer you've set up for us. But if someone listening, say, has a few questions, what's the best way to tackle that?
Yeah, certainly. So I've got a team of support team, like a business dev team who answer questions all day. They also help with special projects, like I need this item relabeled, or we got a QC problem with our quality control problem with our manufactured product where this screw doesn't work, so we need to replace it with a new screw. We can do those rebuild projects. So I've got a
Wow.
team of people who solve those problems for sellers and do what
Yeah.
we call them special projects, and they answer questions within 24 hours on a ticket type system. But I also am available for video calls. I do video calls all day with clients or partners and all around the world. 80% of our customers don't live in the US, and so I'm doing video calls with people all around the world every day, trying to
Wow.
make sure we can
80%
help.
are outside the US. I
Yep.
love that. I would have guessed the opposite, like 20%, but it makes total sense because, when we've talked about these kind of services in the past, it's the people who live outside the United States. They have to have an option like that. They can't ship returns to their front steps in Israel or wherever they're running their business from, right?
Hmm.
That's just, it's not feasible. So they have to have this solution. So it makes total sense that you've done that. But you've got
Yep.
800 clients now. What's your goal? Like here we are, beginning of 2024. Where's this heading for you?
Yeah, so we're on a rocket ship ride. We're growing fast. We're getting a lot of new clients. We partner with 3PLs. 3PLs are now sending us their clients because they don't want to do returns or they don't do the recovery piece like we do.
Hmm.
So we're getting all this opportunity of business, which is great. So my goal is to have 2,000 clients in the system by the end of this year. I don't see that as an unreachable goal at this point.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well done, man. Yeah, you've always been a no nonsense guy that's done things right. You've got a great reputation. And I'm honored to partner with you. And, there's a handful of other people out there doing this, but I love chances to work with people that I know, that I like, that I trust, that have been around a while, that have a reputation that I can lean on, that they're not just going to be gone tomorrow. And so well done, man. You built a beautiful business. Honored to work with you. Again, this is Brandon with Backtrack. Silentjim.com/backtrack has the special offer that he laid out for us today. Go check it out. But any parting thoughts before we sign up for the day, Brandon?
No, I mean, I think this is a great partnership. You and I are very similar. We love helping entrepreneurs. We love the entrepreneur spirit. I'm in the same boat. That's what drives me every day is when I talk to a client or an entrepreneur and say, hey, we can help you here, or we can help you there, or I understand your problem. I've been there, and here's how I would solve that. So you and I are kind of on the same similar missions, it sounds like, and I love the fact that we're working together.
Yeah, I as well. And looking forward to seeing you in May as well at our conference. You said you're going to be able to make it to Orlando, the Proven Conference. So, yeah, if for those of you who are attending, look up Brandon while you're there, say hey to him. They're becoming a great sponsor of our community, and we're really looking forward to working with them into the future. So, all right, Brandon,
Oh,
thanks for your time today, buddy. We'll be talking to you again soon.
all right. Thanks, Jim, and have a
See you,
good
my
day.
friend. Bye now.